In this video, we're going to take a look at usual and unusual as we associate that with probability distributions. So we do have our range rule of thumb that is going to be just like we had before. So we think about a value being unusual if it is either greater than the mean plus 2 standard deviations, so more than 2 standard deviations above the mean, or if it is less than 2 standard deviations below the mean, so the mean minus 2 standard deviations. So there we can use our range rule of thumb to kind of go through that same process. So here we have, based on the probability distribution below, showing the number of pets owned by a variety of households, would it be unusual to own 3 pets using the range rule of thumb? Why or why not? And so, for 3 pets, what we want to do is we're using the range rule of thumb, so we're going to calculate the mean and the standard deviation. This is the same probability distribution that we had in our last example, so let's go back up there. We calculated the mean to be 0.7. We calculated the standard deviation to be the square root of 1.01, which is 1.005. So we are going to go through and we're just going to take the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation, which is 0.7 plus 2 times 1.005. And so when we do that, we get 2.71. We observe that 3 is more than 2.71. So yes, 3 is unusual. So there we are just identifying if a single value is unusual. We're going to look at something slightly different here on our next page. Now we're going to determine not if a single value is unusual, but more precisely, is it unusually high or unusually low? So when we think about unusually high, we think of a value being unusually high an unusually high number of successes if x successes out of n trials has a probability that is really small, that is 0.05 or less. And we think of something being unusually low if x successes out of n trials, we look at n or fewer, has a probability that's less than 0.05. We could think about other values there. Those are the values that 0.05 is the value we tend to look at initially. So here, let's look at our example. Based on the probability distribution below, showing the number of daughters x for a variety of households, would it be unusually high for a household to have 4 daughters? So is it unusually high? So we want to look at 4 daughters. That probability is 0.03. But we don't just look at that one value, we look at 4 or more. So we're going to add all of these probabilities up. And when we add those probabilities up, we get 0.06. 0.06 is more than 0.05, so it's not unusually high. So the idea here is, even though that one value of 4 might be unusual, having values bigger than 4, when you take all of it together, it's not really unusual, so you wouldn't say it's unusually high. So it might be an unusual value, but it's not unusually high. All right, in the next video, we are going to talk about a specific type of distribution called the binomial distribution. We'll talk to you in the next video.